Hello and welcome, my mythical leaves. So, mythical Pokemon. Yeah. Every generation has at least one, some have several, and they're all not the same. Some, especially in the early generations, were more fairy-like, the little cute things, and that's personally what I associate with mythicals, though that has changed coming with Arceus. Nowadays, the term basically only means you cannot get them in the game unless there's an event giving them to you. For free, you don't even really have to do anything for them most of the time. Victini being one of the exceptions. Yeah, it's a bit sad, but here's an idea. What if there was actually a mythical type? So every mythical Pokemon gets this mythical type. I am going to do one exception here, because Melton and Melmetal kinda, sorta-ish count as mythical Pokemon, though I don't really see that. They don't really fit it. Is it the evolution? Well, I think legendaries should also have evolutions, or pre-evolutions rather, some of them at least. Mythicals, though, I feel shouldn't evolve. That's kinda their thing. Like, they are these, well, mythical beings, right? So, yeah. Now, what would mythicals be weak and strong against, huh? Let's have a look at that first. Normal is the first that comes to mind here. Why normal, though? That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But think about it like this. There is something mythical, but then it turns out it is just something normal. Or at least a part of it is normal about it. So, normality basically takes away of the mythicality, thus weakening the mythical in a way, and yeah, I think it fits. Also, that way normal finally gets something they are super effective against. It is still something you usually wouldn't encounter, but they have something now, right? Dark would be my next choice. This is more simple and kinda straightforward, but imagine there is a myth going around. The myth of Pepelepapo. So, people talk about Pepelepapo, but they talk about Pepelepapo less and less. It kinda disappears into the darkness, that myth. AKA, it is forgotten. And a forgotten myth, of course, loses its powers. As from myths, you can learn stuff. It has some thing that happens to people when they talk about it, like urban myths, for example. People becoming afraid of a Yeti in the snow or Bigfoot in the woods. But if you forget about these myths, they aren't in your head anymore, so why would you be afraid of them? And thus, dark can hit mythicals very badly. Yeah, the dark type is more like the evil type and stuff, but next. Dragon, I thought would make sense because dragons are typically legendary creatures. Yeah, you can encounter dragons just out in the wild with no legend around them. That's kinda typical in Pokemon. Even though they were more legendary in the earlier regions, nowadays they are not quite common, but more common. But still, they are kind of legendary creatures from our point of view, and a lot of type coverage can only be explained via our real world point of view, not the Pokemon world's point of view. And legends and myths are similar to each other. So, a legend can bust a myth. And a myth could also bust a dragon. introducing us to the super effectiveness of the mythical type, which is also super effective against dragon. And I don't think we have this in Pokemon yet. Two types that are super effective against each other without being the same type, like dragon is, for example. But I think it would be interesting to include it like that. And we are back to normal. Yeah, they are also super effective against normal types, just as they are weak against it. Basically, the reason I applied for the normal types, giving normality to a myth takes away its powers, yeah, you can vice versa that. If you have just someone normal suddenly be stuck in some kind of mythical situation, then that normal people is lost here. It cannot comprehend this. What is happening? Why is this hurting me in terms of an attack hitting you if you are normal and the attack is mythical? So, yeah. There's one final thing though about this. Mythical will be also super effective against mythical. It's kinda just like dragons and ghosts being super effective against each other. The same reasoning can apply here. A myth can face a myth. The power they have is something that can also hurt them. I think it's interesting and it makes as much sense as dragon versus dragon does in my eyes. And then we of course have to talk about mythical type attacks or moves. These would all have to be made up. We cannot just say these moves are now mythical because you kinda would need to remove them from the move pool of all other Pokemon. Because I think a mythical type move should only be learned by a mythical type Pokemon. They are that special. It's a bit like the Stellar type, of course. And, well, there are two that can be learned by every one of them. And then each of the mythical gets their own. Let us start with the two first. So, the physical move would be Magical Tackle. It covers itself in energy and tackles the opponent just to hurt it. Easy, simple, nothing special about it, but you have an attack here. Then special will be Magical Blast. It shoots a blast of mythical energy and also just damages it. So, yeah, simple attacks, but there's utility for every one of these attacks, for every mythical Pokemon, just as a damage-doing move, right? That makes sense. Now let's get into the specifics, though. Mew gets Origin Blast, where it shoots a beam of mythical energy that will also increase Mew's stat. Which stat? Whichever is the highest already. So it basically pumps itself up in its specialty stat even more. The specialty as in the best stat it has, not like the special stat. Celebi gets Timeless Celebration. And this, I am not into the metagame of Pokemon. I don't know if this would be just too crazy good, but usually mythicals aren't allowed in tournaments and stuff, so I don't know, tell me in the comments. But this one just heals HP. For your whole party though. Everything that is still alive and you have on hand will get some HP. Like, I don't know how much, 10%, 20%, something that works so that the balance isn't completely destroyed. But it's still powerful enough to be a move that is so rarely seen. Then we have Jirachi with Star Wish. This summons a star that falls onto the opponent. Ouch. It also lowers their defense and special defense. What is the wish about it? Well, the wish to win the battle, and lowering the defense does more damage afterwards, thus your wish just might come true. Deoxys is the first mythical I never conceived as a mythical because it's not the cute fairy thing. But oh well. It gets Splicer Beam, like in DNA splicing. It shoots a beam that looks like DNA, and that uses whichever stat is the form of it. So speed for the speed stat, defense for the defense stat. You know, the forms. And, well, it does damage based on that stat. And also raises that stat, strengthening the form even more. Manaphy, and, well, I wouldn't put Fiona as a mythical as well. And I'm also not quite sure if it counts. Bulbapedia lists it as such. But I don't know. It doesn't really fit it. Nah, I wouldn't count it. But Manaphy gets Ocean Crown. It creates a glowing crown of water on its head. Let's just say it's mythical water. And it turns all attacks the Manaphy has into mythical type for 3 turns. This might give Manaphy too much utility as a mythical, but maybe not. Like I said, I'm not really into the meta game. I can be creative when it comes to these attacks. I just don't know how well they would play, or maybe they are even bad. But sometimes the Pokemon Company themselves don't know that, so I'm basically on par with them. Darkrai gets Nightmare Crusher. By putting its hand on the target, it gives it a horrific nightmare. It damages said target and also forces an exchange. If there is no other Pokemon it can be exchanged into, it does extra damage on top of that. So maybe you want to use it on the last remaining Pokemon of your opponent. You evil little ghosty you. Shaman was a bit of a challenge, but I think with Bloomshine, I thought up something nice. Because in the land form, it heals itself while raising its defense and special defense, while in the sky form, it hits the target with that energy covered around its body and raises attack and special attack. So depending on the form, the move changes. I don't want to give it like a specific move per form, neither Shaman nor anything else that can change forms, because the way Pokemon moves work is that they would need to learn both in both forms in that case, and I don't want that. I want one per Pokemon. So I thought, yeah, the move being dependent on the form, that makes sense here. Now let's talk about God. Arceus, or Arceus, or if you are an OG, Arceus, it gets the Once Decree. I wanted it to sound godly. I hope that worked. So for 3 turns, the opponent is weak against every type. I hope this is as overpowered as I imagine it, because we are talking about God here. God needs to be overpowered, right? So there we go. Victini gets V-Riser. Yeah, it has those V modes going on, and yeah, I wanted to put one on top. This does more damage the lower the HP of itself are. So at 1 HP, Victini would do the most damage. But it also heals by half of the damage it has dished out. This puts Victini closer to victory, and it is the victory Pokemon, and yeah, V up. Keldeo gets Growing Justice. This simply does more damage the more defeated Pokemon you have. So if you don't have a full team and only Keldeo on your hand and nothing else with you, basically it would do no damage or something, or just a little. But I think it fits Keldeo because it's out for justice. Your friends were killed, so you gotta strike hard to revenge them. Let justice prevail. Meloetta also has a form thing going on, but well, we covered that, so we only know what it is. In Sing form, it debuffs all stats of your opponent. In Dance form, it guarantees critical damage. Simple but effective. Genesect, I actually contemplated to not count it as a mythical because technically it's a normal Pokemon, whichever it actually was in ancient times, that was like experimented on and stuff, so it's really only mythical due to how you obtain it, not in the game's lore. But let's go with it anyway, and I think Dark Installer would be interesting. It uses an evil program to give itself resistance to all types for 3 turns. Might it be overpowered? Maybe. Do I care? No. Diancie gets Diamond Shield. This grants immunity against all status effects and debuffs for 3 turns. Yes, 3 turns is returning again, but I think that's a good measure. Most Pokemon battles don't last all that long anyway. I'm not sure if this is really powerful or kinda lame in comparison to the others. But hey, you get immunity, so yeah. It works for shield-like move, right? Hoopa! That would be the mythical I probably always forget that exists. But it gets Loop Loop. Loop Loop is summoning a loop, and then basically it's Metronome. Just Metronome with only mythical type attacks. It uses any kind of move that the other mythicals can learn. Just a random one. Of course, not the 2 ones that every mythical can learn. We exclude those because it can have that naturally anyway. But yeah. It's mythical Metronome, basically. Volcanion gets Mystery Steam. This covers the field in a glittering steam, and that does that every damaging move for 3 turns, again, will fail. So you cannot attack for 3 turns, so you gotta use that to buff yourself. But so does the opponent. So basically the tactic afterwards would be who is using their buffs better than the opponent, right? I would totally fail with this on because I never use buff moves anyway. So I would be basically fucked. Magearna, I had a bit of fun with this. It uses Nokeball. It throws a fake Pokeball that explodes, causing a random status effect, on top of damage, of course. Marshadow gets Fighting Spirit. It does only a little damage, but to all Pokemon on the opponent's team. Like, not in a double battle, both of them that are on the field, but like whatever he has in hand. However, there is a bit of a demerit to it as well, as it cannot put the HP to 0. So, no matter how many Pokemon the opponent has, they cannot go below 1 HP. But it would still be good, like, if you force an exchange after that, yeah, ouch. You can do strategies with it, like with Pursuit or stuff. I think this is a nice move. Zeraora! JoJo reference time! It uses Zeraora, which combats its fist in mythical energy, punching the target over and over, doing 3 to 5 times damage, just like Seed Bomb and stuff. Zarude rudely uses Jungle Power. This basically just creates a jungle field that strengthens Zarude in all of its stats. So, yeah, it's a guaranteed Omni Boost. If I get what an Omni Boost is correctly here. I never was sure about that, but well. All stats are raised for, I don't know, however long the field lasts. Until it's like exchanged with a different field or whatever. Finally, Petarant. This gets Control Chain. Yeah, if Pokemon wasn't based on battles 1 against 1, I would have done this a bit differently, but I'm gonna do it like this for the sake of how Pokemon battles work. It does take control of the opponent's Pokemon, but only so that the Pokemon it controls hits itself with one of its own moves. then the trainer gets control back. If Pokemon would do like 4-on-4 battles as the normal way, I would say you gain control. Like, for real, this is now your Pokemon to control, at least for a time. But yeah, even double battles are very rare and it's only 1-on-1 duels, so we gotta do it like this. But I think that's fine. And that is it. What do you think of my ideas for a mythical type? Are you up for that? Would you like this type to exist? Or do you think it's kinda pointless, but at least a fun thought experiment? I see it as the latter. I don't think a mythical type would really warrant its existence. Then again, the stellar type exists for only one Pokemon as well, so who knows, maybe something like this will one day exist. Then again, they never changed mythical Pokemon's typing, so Celebi should really be a fairy. I hope you liked this video, and you actually like this video down there. Check out all the links down in the description, and yeah, hopefully I see you again next time. Until then, bye! Also, check out this video. I heard it's a good one.